What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchi here, back at you with another new Ultimate Universe What If. Now, today I'm gonna do well this new What If idea I kind of was thinking, and maybe it's not a new idea. Maybe someone already did this and stuff. But this would be what if I was in JoJo, Part Three, Stardust Crusaders, and all the way up to Part Seven, hopefully, and also, this will be, and also I'll make another video today of what if Naruto the Hoe because y'all guys was asking. Now, how would this happen? How would I be in Stardust Crusaders all the way up to Part 7? And what's just gonna happen? Well, like I said, when it becomes a what if, plot is way out the window for me. And if you say, oh, well, this didn't happen, JoJo, well, it's a what if. So, what if scenarios happen. So, anything could happen as long as you don't open up the box. Now, further ado, let's continue. Let's see how this go. Now, we start off with the final fight with with uh Dio and Jotaro. Now, as this is happening, this is pretty much as Dio fighting with Jotaro and stuff, and he's pretty much whooping Jotaro ass if we all saw the anime and stuff. And Jotaro is about to lose, and Dio's about to go in for the crush Jotaro. Now, we all know what happened. Dio pretty much get his legs punched in and or kicked in, and he's pretty much about to go for a final blow and go for the final kick, which Jotaro goes for a punch and about to kill Dio. But this is where I come in and stops time. Well, pretty much freeze time for the both of them. Now, Jotaro is completely frozen in time. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what's happening. He's completely unaware. He's stuck in time. But Dio, on the other hand, he's looking around trying to see who else tripled the time step. And this is where I come in. And this is what I say. Lord Dio. Huh. Well, Lord Dio. The great time stopper, the one and the only vampire. Well, not the only vampire, you could say. Which Dio asks, who the hell am I? Now, this is where I tap Dio and freeze him in the time thing. He's pretty much, down on the ground, pretty much can't stand up and healing up very slowly. Which I pretty much give him a bottle with blood and he's drinking it to heal up. Now he thanks me and about to go for the final kill until I stop him and says, Dio, maybe there's a different approach. Maybe we don't have to do this. Which he's saying, what are you talking about? They're in my way. Now this is where I talk to Dio and pretty much says, well, Dio, I want to pretty much tell you that you can fake your death here and you can still continue the heaven plan. Because, trust me, we need to work together to get this done. Which Dio at first is a little bit side-eyed and saying together, which he's pretty much, raising an eye, which smiles and says, listen, Dio, your friend Poochie, your only friend, I could be your friend too, but I'm gonna tell you right now, Poochie is the one who's going to continue the heaven plan, and he's going to achieve made in heaven. All we have to do is just wait for him to do it. While we just wait and sit, and just pretty much wait for him to achieve made in heaven. Then you can come in and get over heaven, which Dio is pretty much just saying. If that is true, then why do we have to leave? How come I can't just finish him? Which, this is where Keyshawn says, well, I'm saying right now, if you finish him, then the way you do it, you're going to achieve over heaven. But Poochie's going to get made in heaven, but it's kind of going to be a little bit taking longer. So let's just make this a little bit shorter. Which Dio reluctantly agrees, and Keyshawn creates you could say, same as Dio, who does the same kick, and pretty much resumes time. And that other Dio pretty much bites the dust. You could say dies. Now, Jotaro pretty much grabs Dio's body, restarts, Joe's hearts and stuff, and this is where we're going to get to part 3. Now, I should probably tell you, well, no, I'll show y'all along the way. Now, Dio is pretty much at a secret mention, or at a mention, pretty much have his second book of Made in Heaven, the plans of Made in Heaven. Well, no, his original book is going to be at the same place because he's leaving his stuff there for JoJo for the plans to continue with Poochie and stuff. Now, Dio is pretty much at a secret place. You know, pretty much just, a little bit bored and stuff, but he's pretty much just been chilling, getting blood and stuff in the blaze, which he's pretty much talking to Keyshawn, which yeah, pretty much saying, so Keyshawn, why do you, why, why did you do that? Let me live and stuff, which this is where Keyshawn smiles and says, because Dio, this is a, this is another universe, you could say, which Dio is very intriguing and asks, well, please explain a alternate universe. But this is where Keyshawn sits with him, and they pretty much be at the chair, pretty much playing chess while they're talking. Alternate universes, or should I say, what ifs, is minds that thinks alike. Other people who have ideas and stuff that they regularly have in their head and want to see a scenario that happens. Well, I'm here because I'm the person who pretty much have the mindscape that can imagine things and create universes. And my loyal followers, which is you guys, wink wink, pretty much have the mind capacity too, that thing too, to create universes. So I'm not the only one who creates universes. Now this universe is a universe that I created of my own, but also someone else had this idea too. So by the merge of our powers, well, my power, myself, I can pretty much do this by myself, but I have people to help me out too. We create this universe where you pretty much survive, and we do this in a different way. Now, this is where Dio is pretty much intrigued and pretty much saying, so you're basically saying alternate universes do exist. Yes, dimensionals, alternate universes, and what ifs can pretty much exist as long as we create them. Now, this is where, of course, Dio is very intrigued and very curious about the stuff, and asks him about did his plan do did it see did he do did he did achieve over him, which this is where Keyshawn pretty much smiles and says, well, in one alternate universe, you did achieve made in heaven, and you pretty much conquer on universes. But how about we do it just different this time, Dio? How about you do achieve over heaven, but let's do it different? Which he's very intrigued and says, so how are we supposed to do this different? Well, for one hand, you need to stop getting cocky, Dio, because even you even when you could have had time stop, you could have easily defeated Jotaro, but you got too cocky, and you died that time, and you died even you had over heaven and had all the court sports. You died because you got too cocky, and you went mad. You need to control your cockiness, and I'm going to help you with that. Which Dio and Keyshawn pretty much continue talking. Now we're gonna go with part 3. We're gonna go part 3 now, with Joseph looking at the picture and stuff, and this is where Jotaro is going to Mori. Now, of course, this is where I will be in part 3, and we're going to pretty much continue this situation because we're gonna make this an hour long. Might as well. Now, this is where Jotaro, of course, meet you got Jotaro. Hold on. Boop, boop. Sorry, just had to remember the name. Josuke. Josuke. Yeah. Part for Josuke. This is where Jotaro meet Josuke, as he's pretty much explaining the whole thing, and the whole scenario of the fight happened as a scene where Jotaro pretty much punched Josuke in the face for attacking with the stand and stuff. Now this is where I pretty much come in and pick up Josuke and ask if he's alright, which Josuke pretty much says yeah. Now, this is where Jotaro asks, who am I? Which I begin to smile and says, well, I'm Keisha no Chief, and I'm just here to look around at this whole place or city, or state, you could say. Now, every parts go as the same as we're gonna go with continue with the, let's see, what's a good fight? We're gonna start with the fight with the white hand. So all parts go the same in the fight with the white hand becomes a little bit different. Now, Josuke is pretty much fighting with I guess the hand, I forgot the guy's name, but pretty much just fighting with him and everything goes the same until we're gonna say the hand goes a little bit different. And he sweeps at the bottom to slash to pretty much erase Josuke's stomach. This is where I of course I come in and pretty much use my stand. And it's called, well, you ready for this, guys? Galaxy Bunny. Galaxy Bunny. Now I know what y'all asking. Galaxy Buddy. That's a little bit sus. Now, it's not sus. It has multiple abilities, alright? I'm just going to give you one of them, and it's time. Time stop, and time. I have time stop, time race. I can also give life. Give life, I could go back in time, forward in time, and my stand can be automatically, so I don't have to be close by my stand. It's kind of can be like Emerald Slash, as I can my stand can go really far while I could be at a certain location, kind of like a trip here heart attack, like that. And my substand, I have a substand, but I tell y'all that substand later. And pretty much, I have all begin with time, but also I kind of have a couple of main and heaven abilities. And what is my stat rise? Everything is in the SS. Actually, I'm joking. Everything is in the ZZ, which Z is for Zoodiverse. But yeah, pretty much, yeah. Mine is Galaxy Bunny. Now, I know what y'all saying. Galaxy Bunny, that's a pretty powerful stand. That stand is too dangerous. Yeah, I know it is. Because I'm a Galaxy god. What y'all think? I'm just gonna have a trash team? No. But let's continue. Pretty much, this is where my stand comes in and pretty much save Josuke, which Josuke sees it, which my stand is pretty much saying, pretty much does a laugh of, well, pretty much says hip hop, which Josuke is say nutty, including Gehenna. Now this is where Gazapani does two punches, two simple punches, and pretty much sends the handle flying back into, well, the enemy user, which I forgot his name, send him flying to the tree, which he's coughing up, which this is where Galaxy Bunny disappears, which Josuke is confused of whose stand was that. It's just where I pretty much is sitting at the chair, looking and pretty much saying, I almost killed him. Thank goodness I didn't. It begins to disappear. Now, this is where, of course, Josuke heals him, and they make their family bond, become friends, and then everything happens the same. Now we're gonna get with the Cheer Pure Heart Tech arc. Let's do that one. Might as well. So everything is happening the same. I'm just gonna pop in here, then you could say. Now this is where the Cheer Pure Heart Tech attack, and Jotaro is, of course, doing the Jotaro and the other kid, or it's pretty much is, again attacked by the Cheer Pure Heart Attack, and Jotaro is trying his best to stop it, and this is where he figured out the idea. It's attracted to heat, and it blows up, and he pretty much gets attacked by the explosion and pretty much pass out. Now, this is where, of course, Killer, well, Yoshikar Kira comes in, about to finish, come in the building and finish, well, pretty much does the punch in, finish, Josuke friend. Man, I really forgot their names, but pretty much, shoots him in the stomach and pretty much done. Now, this is where, Jotaro is coming in, and he pretty much is real tired, and Yoshikar Kira is getting cocky and stuff, getting real close and stuff. This is where I come in, which Jotaro is taking a knee, and I pretty much tap him and heals him, and asks if he's alright. Which Jotaro is looking and saying, "Did you just heal me?" Which I pretty much smile and says, "Now go get him, Tiger." Which this is where Jotaro stops time. But instead of doing 5 seconds or all that and got downgraded, he freezes it for 10 seconds. Because I'm going to tell you this. When I heal a person, I give them a boost in power. So their boost. So pretty much, I give them a boost, and if I keep healing them or keep boosting them, they can use their ability more dangerously. You could say. Yeah, instead of 5 seconds, let's make it 11 seconds. This is where Jotaro frees time for 11 seconds, and he feels the power. Now, of course, this is where I'm smiling, and he's pretty much saying, "Yeah, you can stop, you can walk through time," which I pretty much smile and says, I can do more than that, but you should pretty much hurry up and finish him off. Which this is where Jotaro, of course, does the morale punches and send Yoshikar Kira flying in the trash can, pretty much out. Now, this is where, of course, Jotaro is about to turn around and thank me until he doesn't see me no more. Now, of course, this is where Ari healed Josuke's friend, and he's pretty much waking up trying to figure out what the hell just happened, and he remembered getting punched until Jotaro was confused and saying, "Where did he go?" And he's more curious of who this person who just healed him and stuff. And this is where Josuke comes in and pretty much trying to figure out who's the imposters and stuff. Now, this is where, of course, Josuke escapes and does the whole design thing and changes stuff up. Now, whew, we're gonna get to the spicy stuff, and we're gonna get to continuation to Bite Dust arc. Yeah, let's get to that one because everything's gonna happen the same. I'm just gonna, like I said, pack here there. So let's do the Bite the Dust arc. Now, this is where, of course, as you could say, Yoshikari kills the kid. He's trying to figure out what to do until the arrow hits him, and he begins to, get hit with the arrow and stuff, and it's going all the way inside. Now we're gonna say for Hopatero order, we're gonna say this is where the Rec Room arrow pierces Yoshikari Kira, but it's a second one. We're gonna say his dad has a second one. Now Yoshikari Kira pretty much is, waking up and pretty much, smiling and stuff because the boy's alive. And he has a whole look, getting all cocky stuff, and he's pretty much wearing his suit and stuff. And this is where, he does the hat thing and he's going to a different place and go to work. Now this is where I, of course, goes to Yoshikara's dad and pretty much asks for the Rec Room arrow, which he begins to sweat and says, here, yes. Which I pretty much took the Rec Room arrow, which Jotaro was, you could say, tracking me. You could say tracking and see me grabbing the Rec Room arrow. Now this is where he stops me on my tracks. Now this is where a fight comes in between Jotaro and me. Now he's pretty much asking, who am I? What am I doing with that arrow? And why did I save his life? Which this is where I'm smiling and saying, listen, you should really just be going to, talk to Josuke. I'm not really reporting, which he pretty much says, the hell you are. And he pretty much is not going to stop time. Well, let's say he does stop time. And he says, stop Zawado. And he stops time. Now, this is where, of course, I begin to act like I'm frozen, which he begins to get frozen. And I say, boo. And he begins to pull out his stand and does an aura to try to punch me, which I pretty much dodge it. Or you could say teleports. And he's pretty much saying, what? Nani? Which I begin to peer right behind him, tap him and says, you should really try not to punch someone who just saved you. Anyways, like I said, I'm not important. Which he begins to try to order. Which I'm dodging all the attacks and stuff. Because like I said, I have everything that begins with time. But also healing capabilities and other stuff. Which he begins to be confused and his time stops. Like I said, because it's only for 11 seconds if I'm correct. And he begins to be confused and saying that he starts to think saying he's immune to time stop. So how am I supposed to defeat him? Now, this is where of course I is pretty much summons a chair and sits down and begins to say, you're not gonna defeat me. So you might as well go talk to Josuke to try to find out the true culprit who's behind all the killings and stuff, which he begins to tell me to shut up and charge, set his stand to charge at me. Now this is where, of course, I pull out a couple of knives, pull out a couple of knives and be like universe dagger knives and at those him at, which he pretty much is pretty much punching him away, pretty much saying begins to have PTSD. You could say post trauma, and realize that I have knives, and he's thinking of that time with Dio with the knife still. Now this is where, of course, he's getting angry, worked up, and he begins to charge, use his stand to charge at me and stuff. This is where I use my stand to block all the attacks and stuff. He begins to smile and says, I'm just gonna knock you out. And I begin to, you could say, use my stand and barrage punch his stand, and he's pretty much taking off damage and stuff. It gets flying to the tree. Now this is where he's coughing up blood and pretty much about to pass out. And this is where I begins to squat down and says, JoJo, I'm gonna heal you, but this time stop trying to follow me. And heal him, and he pretty much passes out while I heal him. Now he wakes up, pretty much go to Josie and stuff, and the whole arc with the West Dust pretty much happened in reset and a reboot again and again. Now, this is where, of course, Yoshikara Kira is at the final part. We're at the final part of part 4. And this is where Yoshikara is pretty much caught up in. He gets barrage punch and stuff, and he's pretty much down and stuff, and he's still trying to press the button to do reset. Now, this is where I stop time. I pretty much appear to Yoshikara and saying, Yoshikara Kira, which he's pretty much saying, who are you? Which I smile and says, well, I'm Keyshawn. Now, I'm smiling with a big grin and saying, and this is where you die. Which he's pretty much confused and saying, I die? Which I said, of course, this is where you die, Yoshikara. Because this is where the place you die, and you get run over by an ambulance truck. Or unless you want to have a second chance to change your ways. Now, of course, this is where he's pretty much confused and saying, change my ways. Which I'm saying, yes, you could join me. You could join me of this new universe where you don't have to become a killer to have your habits. You could become a better person. And maybe you can use your stand and stuff to repent. Which he begins to think and says yeah. Quickly says yes, which I begins to say, alright then. And I begin to heal Yoshikara and begins to take him. Now we're going to have to make a copy of yourself and pretty much have him to die here. While you, originally yourself, going to become me to meet Dio. And everything happens the same with Yoshikara gets her own thing, and everything all peaceful happen and stuff. The arc is pretty much over. But the real Yoshikara is with Dio. Now this is where Yoshikara is pretty much waking up in bed, which he's pretty much trying to figure out where is he, which I'm pretty much saying, so you're up. Since I saved your life from your fate, I might as well tell you part of the plan. We're gonna reset the universe and have something new, baby. Which he pretty much, gets wide-eyed. Now, we're going to get to part 5, and this will be, Jono Jonavana, Golden Wind arc. Well, you could say, yeah, the arc. Now, everything is as the same, the whole, everything happens the same, but this is where I'm appearing, pretty much, But we're gonna be much different. We're gonna be in the age of growing up with Jono Jonavana, pretty much, as we're going to be as a kid and pretty much grow with him, you could say. Now, this is where, of course, Jono, as he's growing as a kid, instead of him being by himself, he has a person with him, a friend. And it's Keisha Chia, of course. Now, this is where Jono is doing the whole robberies and stuff. Doing the whole taxing, crime. A little bit of crime. And this is where Keisha is pretty much saying, so, how much you made? Which he's pretty much saying, a couple of dollars to pay off. Which this is why I have, we're going to say, a couple of 50s, and pretty much says, well, I found this rich guy, and I had a 50. You think this, which Jono, he pretty much confirmed. Now, pretty much says that's enough. Now this is where, of course, we're gonna go to the shovel part, and before the guy hits Journal with the shovel, I pretty much, you know, pull out 250 grands. 250 grands is pretty much. I have the 50 grand, which he pretty much sees, and he says, "Huh, is that more enough for us to get to the next step?" Which he pretty much says, "Yeah." I pretty much, puts it in that we're going to get into a part of the game, get into the game. Now, as we go get in, this is what me and Journal was talking on the train, and pretty much, conversation of what we're going to do next, and we're talking about how we're going to get initiated in the game. So, this is where, of course, yes, okay, Bruno. This is where we're at the train arc, where Bruno and, of course, Jono begins to talk to each other while I'm by the side chilling. You could say chilling stuff. Now, this is where, of course, Bruno and they have their fight because he can smell light and stuff, and begins to have their fight and all that stuff. Now, of course, this is where I'm just watching, pretty much looking, which Jono is looking at my face expression, pretty much see that we're gonna say Bruno accidentally, you know, was coming right at me, and his stand was coming at me until I'm about to counter it. I was smiling, but pretty much Jorno smacks it away, pretty much punches it away, which Jorno is having a close eye to see me pretty much smiling, which he's pretty much confused of if I can see his stand or not. Now, this is where, of course, Bruno and Jorno having a fight, and we're gonna say that punch happens where he gets punched out his body, and he's about to go for attack, and he realized that it was just that happening. He gets punched. Now we're gonna skip it later on, and this is where, of course, I'm pretty much running with Jorno, and he pretty much gets in the same fight situation, and the whole fight with the fly and all that stuff happens. And before he's about to get punched in the face, Jorno pretty much is walking away and stuff, which I pretty much, walk with Jorno. I pretty much saying, "See you later, Bruno." I pretty much continue going. Now, this is where we continue on, and we go to the Black Seven part. Now, this is where I'm pretty much having the Record Marrow in my hand. Well, pretty much, no, it doesn't have the Record Marrow, but pretty much has the Record Marrow, a part of my stand, holding it, which I'm pretty much saying, we're almost there. Just need to get to it. Now, of course, this is where Black Seven and that arc is happening, and Jorno is pretty much, holding the lighter and stuff, and the old man is about to get, hit with the arrow. Well, getting pretty much caught by the arrow. Now, this is where he gets stabbed by the stand, and he pretty much is dying because he's not having the charm. This is where I pretty much walks down, and it pretty much heals him. Pretty much is healing, which Jorno is pretty much shocked because he realized I have a stand, or pretty much has some sort of healing capabilities of bringing the dead back to life and stuff. Now he's pretty much asking, "What stand does I have?" Which Art begins to look at him and pretty much smiles and says, "Well, you never asked me if I had a stand. I knew you had a stand," which he's pretty much shocked. Now this is where he asks, "Well, what's happening?" "Well, what the hell is that?" Which I pretty much smile and tell Journal that stand is pretty much is the guy who was in that prison cell, which he pretty much is shocked is saying it's him, which he's saying yeah, and his stand is Black Sabbath, which give other people stands. Now of course this is where the old man is waking up, is pretty much trying to figure out what the hell's happening, and we're gonna say the old man has a stand, but we probably worry about that later on. Now, as that pretty much is happening, we're pretty much, me and Jorno is pretty much, keeping the Black Sabbath away. And I begin to say, well, let's bring him out the shadow and put him in light, which we pretty much have Black Sabbath, and that whole happens, but much differently. And we defeat Black Sabbath. Now, this is where we pass in, and we're part of the game now. We get our initiation buttons. Now, I don't have. Now, for my design, I haven't told you what the clothes I'm wearing, but I'm wearing pretty much blue jeans, uh, blue fresh jeans with a blue jean jacket, and wear some fresh shoes, Converse shoes, and pretty much yeah, pretty much that. And I wear rings. I wear golden and black rings. I wear black crosses on my earrings. Now, pretty much, Journal is pretty much. Journal doesn't kill the guy because the old man, you know. Okay, Journal does kill the guy because the same thing happens as Journal is leaving and the guy's about to kill himself. But I just change it. He doesn't kill himself, so nothing doesn't have to be concerned. So Diablo doesn't have to be concerned about anything, and shit doesn't hit the fan after that point. So pretty much we're going to continue, and everything happens the same. We're going to go up to the Zeppeli part with the uh, Bruno fighting King Crimson, if I'm correct. Now, pretty much this is where, of course, King Crimson, you know, takes his daughter Tristan, pretty much, trying to kill her. Now, as this is happening, this is where Bruno is fighting King Crimson and stuff, and I'm pretty much there in the shadows. Pretty much have a shadow self too, and pretty much has bunny ears. So I'm pretty much appearing and pretty much walking to the time race, you could say. Now, as King Crimson sees, he's pretty much saying, Naughty, who are you? And how are you? Which I'm pretty much smiling and saying, well, you can't kill Bruno. Well, yet, I mean. Which this is where Diablo is going for pretty much a race time and trying to go to punch me. Which this is where, of course, I pull out my stand, Galaxy Bunny, and pretty much punch him center floor. Now, this is where I'm having a fight with King Crimson. Now, of course, actually, no. Actually, yeah. But this is where I'm in the shadows and King Crimson stand and I'm fighting. Me and King Crimson is pretty much having a fight, which uh Bruno is pretty much losing blood and pretty much tired out and stuff. And trying to, hold himself together while Jono comes in. Now, me and King me and Crimson is pretty much fighting each other and stuff. And he's trying to race time, which is not working, and I'm pretty much whooping his ass. This is where he looks into the future and trying to see what's going to happen next. And he just sees me going straight for a punch to punch him right in his face. Now, of course, this is where he says, I see your fate. And it's already sealed, and he does a race time. About to dodge it until it doesn't happen for me going to punch him in the face. For my stand to go and punch him in the face. I punch him in the stomach, pretty much making him cough blood and send his stand flying into the wall, which he's pretty much said, What happened? How did he? This is where he pretty much disappears, pretty much, gets out of there and disappears so he doesn't, well, you could say, epitaph or telepathy, pretty much disappears. So he doesn't have to be in there any longer because Journal and all of them is coming in. This is where, of course, I heal Triss hands and heal Bruno, which he pretty much is asking, "Who am I?" Which my stand pretty much just disappears. Well, you could say erase and gets out of there. Now, this is where, whew, this is where everything continues happening, and this is where the final fight is pretty much commencing. But before it happens, we're going to pretty much be at the arc with the Silver Chariot record mark, where my guy is fighting with King Crimson, which he pretty much show his true identity. He's pretty much fighting with you know Ponoroth, and he's about to kill him because Ponoroth is pretty much almost at his last breath, and the stand Silver Chariot is pretty much getting absorbed by the arrow. Now, this is where, of course, Diablo is about to kill Parnoth until I stop time and I begins to heal Parnoth and pretty much give back his legs and fix his body completely how it was in his prime. And this is where, of course, where Diablo is looking around trying to find where's Parnoth. And this is where Parnoth is pretty much is we're gonna say at the cliffside, pretty much at the bottom, where his stand, where Diablo is looking around and he sees a black shadow figure. Now this is where he's pretty much saying, "What the hell is that?" And this is where he sees Pornareth at the bottom, and Silver Chariot Requiem is pretty much staying beside him, pretty much have both of his arms behind him, have we're gonna say one of his arms on kind of like a shoulder thing, but like right beside him. Now this is where Pornareth is, slowly adjusting to, he's confused of how his body is together and stuff. Probably he's thinking that maybe it's Silver Chariot Requiem, like repairing himself, fixing him, getting him back. But no, it was me, of course. Now, this is where Silver Chariot Requiem begins to be a little bit uncontrollable. We're gonna say a little bit uncontrollable, like because he doesn't know how to control Silver Chariot, so he begins to pass out because it's a sentient. We're gonna say Silver Chariot is a sentient, and he has the arrow in his hand, and he's pretty much just walking on his own. Which Parno passed out because he was a little bit tired. Now, Silver Chariot is pretty much, going, but Parno's soul is not going to be transferred to anything because his body is alright. Now, Silver Chariot is pretty much walking on his own by himself, pretty much, going in. He's doing the same thing. Everything's happening as usual and stuff. Which everybody's confused of why Diablo is chasing after Silver Chariot, which is, Bruno. Well, no. Yeah, which is Bruno, and pretty much, Bruno's stand comes out, and everything, just a whole cluster happens. Now, this is where Silver Chariot pretty much disappears. Pretty much, reaches, we're going to say it reaches him and disappears, and turns back to Silver Chariot and goes back to Parnoth, which Parnoth is pretty much waking up and trying to figure out what's happening. And all he remembers is, having the Requiem arrow. Now, we're gonna say for shits and giggles, I create a second Requiem arrow to give to Parnoth just in case standard. Which he reads the note saying, this is an extra Requiem arrow, just in case we need to, have a boost, which Parnoth is confused. And he says XOX, but no, I'm joking. But it says your friend Keyshawn Chia, which he's pretty much saying, friend. I don't know Keyshawn Chia, which he pretty much remembers the fight between Dio and stuff, and he saw me walking to the whole last fight. So he remembers seeing him. Now, this is where the commence fight happened and stuff, and this is where the arrow, pretty much where you could say, where the whole fight of Drono and the whole Requiem and stuff, and he gets Requiem, Golden Spirit's Requiem, and he begins to barrage punch, Diablo and send him flying to the water thing and stuff. And Diablo is at his final breath, about to die, until I pretty much come in and reverse the effects of Diablo and heal him. And this is where I smile and says, this is going to kind of hurt Diablo, and stab him with the Requiem arrow. With the true Requiem arrow. I'm going to make it as true Requiem arrow, because it's not broken or anything. It's as true. This is the true one with a diamond to it. Now, this is where Diablo gets hit, and everybody sees the light appear. Now, this is where Jarno is pretty much, we're going to say teleporting. I don't know how. Pretty much flies and sees Diablo pretty much getting hit with Requiem arrow. Which this is where he looks and sees me. Which he's pretty much saying, Keyshawn. And he's about to come in until Diablo disappears. Now, this is where Journal is trying to look and trying to see where's Diablo, and me. And this is where GR begins to explain that uh, Diablo Diablo is not a threat no more. He's no longer here, so you don't need to worry about it. And also explain that Keyshawn is also not here anymore, so they're not two threats. Which everything happens the same arc, but Bruno he becomes a new mafia boss and all that stuff. Now this is where Diablo is pretty much in the universe thinking and begins to look around and sees his new record of staying King Crimson. Now he begins to smile, laugh and says the word, which I begin to walk up to him and says, "Well, you're welcome." Which Diablo asks, "Who am I?" And pretty much said to me that why did I help him and save him? Which this is where I say to him, "Well, first of all, I know about your whole background. And I'm so sorry that you had to experience that and did all those things. But I'm here to help you change the way for the better. And also, there's going to be a great battle happening. I'm going to need you for it." Which this is where of course, King Crimson Requiem sees in the future, like Eve Father, and sees what's going to happen and how it's going to end and all that stuff. And Diablo sees it too, and it's kind of as hell as he can see what's going to happen, how it's going to end, and also we're going to kind of do as I forgot his name, but pretty much as how if anyone's trying to remember King Crimson, remember Diablo, or try to chase after him, they're just going to forget and not remember him. So yeah, also that. So this is where he's pretty much saying, "I see. Yeah, I help you," which Diablo agrees to it. But this is where he pretty much let Diablo do his own thing, you know, go fishing, do whatever he wants to do. Well, we get to part 6 now, Stone Ocean arc. Now, this is where, of course, we start off with Jolene and stuff, and how the whole hit by a car and going to prison thing and stuff. Now, we're gonna say the prison has two separate prisons, the male and the female prison and stuff, and everything's happening the same. This is where she awakened her stand, stone free, and this is where I'm in prison. Pretty much, we're gonna say, mm, we're gonna say I'm a visitor, and it begins to, nah. Let's rechange it. We're gonna say everything happens and Jolene's in prison. Now I'm gonna be by Poochie. Pretty much talking to Poochie. But Poochie is pretty much, praying and stuff and all that stuff. I'm pretty much, talking to Poochie and saying, "Poochie," which Poochie pretty much says, Keyshawn, it's been a while. Which I smile and says, "Yeah, it have been a while. How you doing?" Now, this is where I talk to Poochie and explain to him that is he ready for, the Heaven Plan arc, where he's pretty much saying, yeah. Now, for for his sister and brother report, my guy, him, we're gonna say that whole happened, but the whole Ku Klux Klan and sorry, my sister had to use the phone to get the stuff done, but let's continue. Yeah. So where was I? Diablo part 6. Yeah, part 6, Stone Ocean. So I'm talking to Poochie, pretty much talking about the Heaven's Plan, which Poochie is, listening to me and stuff, and he's pretty much, you know, I tell him news about Dio, and how he perished, and stuff, which Poochie is struck with sadness. And no, Poochie is not gay for this good for Dio. He's as his friend, so keep your weird thoughts to yourself and all that. But pretty much, well, then again, it's whatever. I thought Poochie and Dio had a thing. They did something, but clearly not. But pretty much, Poochie is talking stuff, and Poochie sees that her sister. We're gonna say his sister is in love with someone and stuff, and Poochie is about to go and investigate who this person is, and uh this is where the lady is about to come in to confess her sins and stuff, and I tell Poochie to take a break, and I can do it because I'm gonna act like I'm the pastor, and she confessed her sins to me, saying that a miscarriage and stuff and all that, and she pretty much took, which I told her all the sins would be forgiven and all that, and pretty much take in, so I know the information Poochie doesn't know. Now Poochie is pretty much talking and happy that his sister has has a relationship and a boyfriend and stuff and all that, and they fall in love. This is where I'm gonna kind of have his sister do something, kind of change it up. Now this is where, as his sister is, I'm gonna say a couple robbers, a couple kidnappers kidnap his sister. Now this is where Poochie and where I forgot his name. Hold on. Oh, I guess his name is Weather, if I'm correct. Well, Weather, pretty much he's joining with Poochie, and they don't know they're brothers and stuff. So that's that. This is where, of course, Poochie and Weather is pretty much working together to pretty much get the kidnappers. Now of course, we're gonna say the kidnappers, something happened, and we're gonna say this is she falls in the water, but and she's pretty much falls in the water. Now this is where Poochie jumps in and thinks his sister is dead, but really she's not. She's in the coma, so don't worry about it. This is where the arrow hits in and shoots him in the neck. The Rec Room arrow, you could say, or arrow. If I think it was Rec Room arrow, shoots him in the neck, and he gets a stand. This is where Weather gets his stand too. Weather report. Now, and we're gonna say as he was fighting one of the kidnappers, he got knocked out. So this is where he gets a stand, and Weather gets his stand. Now, this is where they both get their stands and stuff, and Poochie is pretty much crying and stuff, and he gets his stand white sneak. Now, this is where everything begins. Now, as that happening, this is where pretty much yeah, that's where it happens, and Weather pretty much comes in. Now Weather is pretty much wakes up and realizes that she's down. Now Poochie is pretty much crying and stuff, pretty much in tears and stuff, and pretty much angry. And Weather also realizes she's thinks she's dead, which Poochie begins to pick her up, which I appear in, pretty much picks up and says I take her, which Poochie says very well then. Now, as everything happened, this is where Weather gets angry, and he begins to figure out who was the leader who causes to happen stuff, and he begins to trying to find who did this stuff. Now, Poochie is not going to do it because he's going to continue the heaven plan so he can save his sister that way, bring his sister back to life that way, while Weather is going to find out who did the kidnapping and who hired the kidnapping and did that. Now, as that is happening, this is where Poochie do his plan and stuff, and commence his plan in motion while his sister is in the hospital in a coma. Now they don't know that she's in a coma, and only Keyshawn knows. Now, as that happening, this is where Weather finds a name, and here is this guy name. And as he's pretty much getting this guy name, he pretty much continuing and finds the location where he find the person who did it. Now, as he's going, he's pretty much says that he knows who's the hiring person is you, which he pretty much says my name, which I pretty much comes out the show and says, so it was me who did it. And he pretty much says, and he asks one thing, why did you do it? Which I begin to say, well, it's all part of the plan. And he begins to, get mad. Now this is where he begins to try to fight me, and this is where I use, because like I said, I'm the Galaxy. I have Galaxy Bunny, so Galaxy Bunny can do about pretty much anything. I mean anything. So whatever stand, it's useless. Think of that one stand that's useless that just piss everybody off and make everybody pissed off and fight each other. Yeah, I have that stand. I have that ability too. I can do stuff like that. Now, pretty much, I use disc or pretty much light, light tap, or mm, angel tap, angel touch, angel tap. Pretty much, I tap his forehead, and pretty much take his memories, take his memories, because how we're gonna have the Stone Ocean arc with Weather and Jolene meeting each other and working together if you know if it just wouldn't make sense. So I take away his memories, pretty much leave him there, and pretty much continue it says, and pretty much continue off going. Now I meet with Poochie, pretty much telling telling him if he's ready, and he pretty much does all the stuff, and I leave. Now this is where the Stone Ocean arc comes in, and Jolene in prison and stuff, and White Snake pretty much doing all that stuff. Now everything happens the same. We're going to get with a more serious part, and this is where the Green Baby arc. Green Baby. Now Jolene and of course the same user down is pretty much working together, trying to get the Green Baby, and they keep shrinking down. Now this is where they realize how to unshrink, and they have to back up. This is where the baby, takes intrigue, and pretty much Jolene takes the baby and stuff, and everything happens in war and stuff. Now, of course, this is where Poochie comes in, and the baby begins to happen, and that's where Seamoon comes in, and everything's happening as the same. Uh, Now we're gonna continue on, and this is where we pretty much get to the last part. Let's get to the last part of Stone Ocean, and we're gonna do the Made in Heaven part arc. Yeah, the Made in Heaven arc. Now this is where Poochie pretty much ascended, and he gets his name Made in Heaven. Now everybody's wakes back up and confused of what's happening and stuff. Which this is where we're gonna say Poochie sister wakes back up from her coma, because we're gonna say she's in a coma for a long time. Now this is where Weather Report, he's not dead. We're gonna say he's alive and not dead, and he's pretty much looking around trying to figure out like he finally gets his memories back and trying to figure out. Well, no, he been has his memories back, but he's with Jolene, and he's trying to figure out what Poochie did, and they're all figuring out what's happening now. This is where, of course, Poochie is have Made in Heaven, and this is where everything is happening, and they don't know what's going on. Time is just everything is just getting into a clusterfuck, you could say. Now Jolene is pretty much confused and trying to figure out what's happening and stuff, includes JoJo and stuff. Now this is where of course JoJo tells everybody to meet up on the rooftop, and everybody be on the rooftop, pretty much trying to figure out what's happening. Now this is where Weather Report. This is where, of course, we're going to do a couple of difference, and this is where Weather Report sees his, you could say, sister. You could say, and see his sister, and he begins, but you can think of it as a lover, and it begins to run to each other and hug each other. Now this is where Poochie. We're gonna say this is where. No. Let's take that back. We're gonna say Weather Report is at a different situation. He's at a different part, and this is where he is at a hospital, and he sees pretty much. Yeah, he sees pretty much his girlfriend, and they pretty much unite each other. Begins to talk and stuff. Now, this is where he's pretty much saying that he thought she died and stuff, and crying and stuff. They're pretty much with each other and stuff, and this is where he pretty much says that he has to get to his friends and pretty much help them out, which she pretty much says, then I'm coming with you. Now, as that all happening and stuff, and they're about to go, this is where, of course, Made in Heaven happened, and just the whole shit of the fight happening, and knives and stuff, and all that Poochie and stuff. Now, this is where, as they're about to happen, this is where Weather comes in, and, Poochie sees his sister and says, well, not see his sister yet, but this is where the whole universe is being reset, and everybody's dying, and then everything just worth the blink, and everything gets restarted. Now, as everything's being restarted, of course, the kid, the baseball kid, pretty much pushes his clothes, trying to figure out what's happening. Poochie is pretty much, coming in, about to end him, saying it's for the greater good, and until, I'm gonna say, Brother Port survives and uses stand, and pretty much Poochie is trying to figure out what the hell happened, and he's pretty much saying, it's you, and before he can, get crushed and get killed, this is where I come in again, and pretty much grabs Poochie and pretty much take Poochie and put in his double gamer that dies, and the whole universe gets reset, and everything happens different, and everything becomes different and all that. Except Poochie is not there, and the whole universe is different. Now we're gonna get to part 7, but before we get to part 7, let's talk about where Poochie went at. Now, this is where Poochie is waking up, and he's pretty much, trying to figure out what happened. This is where he sees Lord Dio, and he's pretty much saying, Dio, I thought you was dead, which Keyshawn told me about. Which this is where Keyshawn and Sin, I don't know, the chair saying, oh, you're awake, Poochie. Which she's saying, Keyshawn, what's going on here? Which, Poochie is confused, but, at his guard. And, this is where Dio tells him to calm down, and he says he's proud of him achieving, their dream made in heaven, which, Poochie is, happy that he said, they're talking about. Now, this is where Diablo comes in, and Yoshikar Kira, he's in, and they're pretty much, Poochie asks who these people, which he pretty much saying, which Keyshawn says, oh, well, these are the people that's going to help us, make it all right. Which Dio is pretty much saying, yes, and to help me get my maid in heaven. Now, this is where we're going to get to part 7 of the Seal Bob run. Now, this is pretty much part 1 of what if I was in JoJo. If you like, ask for part 2, let's get this up to 20 likes, and I'll do the part 2, final part. If you like, hit the like, subscribe, do all that. But I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
It looks like you lost another one.